Hi guys, this is day zero of learning Spanish. And why is it day zero and not day one? Well, let me get this straight. First of all, day one means I have to have a full on fucking day of just learning Spanish. And I'm not gonna try and go the old fashioned way where it's like you learn these words and you do these things and you do this exact stuff, you know? Like, no, I want to gain the fucking fluency, but I don't recommend this for all languages because some are more complicated than others. But it is interesting, at least for me, to learn Spanish this way. Okay? And I'm only really learning it because I'm somewhat familiar, and I only recommend it if you're just, like, starting, like, if you're already a beginner, that kind of thing, because you're already somewhat familiar with the language of Spanish, you know? And basically, what I do is I take notes or phrases or whatever, common phrases. Sometimes I'll write them down. Sometimes I'll look them up to like search up what they'll say. But generally, what I'll do is maybe I'll write it down, but I usually take an entire sentence, not a fucking like a certain word, but an entire sentence, and I repeat that and search it up. Especially if it's a sentence that they're commonly saying. Basically, any sentence that after you listen to your Spanish thing, unless you really want to know what it means, after you listen to that Spanish speaking video, especially in the very common form of Spanish, like whatever the most common form of native speaking Spanish is in your area, I would recommend watching content that you would enjoy, or that you would at least think that you would enjoy, mostly content that you would actually watch that's in actual Spanish and not just dubbed, like something that's actually in it. And when you read the subtitles, it has to be in that language, That's why I said look it up, because you want to be able to know how to read and write in that language to an extent, But the main goal for me is to be able to speak at a at least fluent or native level, in my day-to-day life, because I have relatives and friends that are native Spanish speakers that are there are conversations I want to have with them, but because I don't speak Spanish, I'm limited by how much I can speak English with them, That's basically what it is. If I could speak Spanish, I know they would be talking to me a lot more, because I know some relatives who learned Spanish, well, the old school way, but they learned Spanish way before these people were born, and so they had a unfair advantage. I didn't have this advantage. I never got to really learn Spanish growing up. So because of it, I'm going to try doing this method, And I would recommend, if you are going to do the way that I'm going to do it, recommend listening to just, no subtitles, no nothing. Just straight up listening to Spanish for 1, 2, maybe 3 hours a day, every day, especially when you, that part of the day when you just have, many hours of free time, that kind of thing, where you have enough energy and, you're awake and, you actually want to listen and watch whatever, that kind of thing. And, that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So it's day zero, because I'm going to start getting into this process. I don't know if I'll ever learn the language, or at least I'll be familiar enough to know if what sounds like Spanish is in fact Spanish, But I'm going to be learning American Spanish, or United States Spanish, specifically because, well, That's the most common kind of Spanish where I live. Most common kind of native speaking, or at least secondary speaking, because most people that I'm aware of that speak Spanish like in their daily lives that I've seen publicly anyway speak it as a second language, but I know a lot of people who speak it as their first language. But generally speaking, if you have Spanish, at least in this part of my country, yeah, you're generally going to be speaking it as a second language, you know? But we do have a lot of first speakers. But then if you go to the South, yeah, most people are going to be first speakers. And there are a few second language speakers here and there in, like, Spanish speakers there, here and there in the South, but it's more common with the having it as a first language, so it's kind of like a reverse. And then there's all the in-between stuff, you know, like with states like Missouri, I guess. But, yeah, I come from the Great Lakes area. That kind of thing. At least in my part of the world. But yeah, I'm going to be trying this method and seeing if it works. If it doesn't, oh well. If it does, hooray! You know? Hooray! We did it! You know? I did a Bill Clinton. Anyway, I am gonna get out of here. So, yeah, I'm gonna go try and learn some Spanish. So, if I start sounding like a freaking, like a Mexican but with a Spanish, like a American speaking accent, then, that's that. But anyway, yeah, day 0 of, what they call in their language, Espanol. Espanol. And then they also call English, Ingles. But, if you're going to talk to a native English speaker, you gotta call it English, because, you know, that's their fucking language, you know? Could look at English, is that a different language? What is that? You know, like, that kind of thing. Same thing if you went for Espanol in English. You know, you would have to call it Spanish, obviously. But yeah, I'm gonna give Spanish a try using this method. So, yeah. But, if it don't work out, well, at least I gave it a fucking try. Okay? At least I gave it a fucking try. Anyway, I am out of here. So, day 0 of learning Espanol. You know, day 0. Day 0. Manifest destiny. I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna skedoodle, get out of here. Yeah, if you have any ideas or thoughts you want to express, you can put it in the comments below, and, or even make your own YouTube video about it. I don't know. I'm not you. I can't control your actions if you are going to do something. But anyway, I'm out of here. Bye.